In North America, we are obsessed with big things. We have big infrastructure, big drinks, and even bigger bellies. And it's the same story when it comes to our vehicles. For example, mid-sized trucks are now as big as full-size trucks were barely 2 decades ago. For us, a compact car means something like the Honda Civic.
But even a car as compact as the Mitsubishi Lancer, which has been discontinued for about a decade now, looks big compared to this, the Fiat 500e. So, can Italy's smallest export survive in a continent as vast as North America? Right, let's see how quick this little car is. Not bad. Underneath this chic retro modern body is a 42 kilowatt-hour battery pack that supplies energy to a 117 horsepower and 162 pound-foot electric motor. 0 to 60 in this Fiat 500e takes just under 4 seconds. That is 60 kilometers an hour. 0 to 60 miles an hour, or 96 kilometers an hour, takes about 8 seconds. So if you find yourself on a drag strip next to a Tesla, you're gonna lose. But if you find yourself next to one of those e-scooters, then it might be a close race.
It's not a quick car, but jokes aside, high speeds are not what's important in this. Thanks to the instant torque of the electric motor, it's the snappy acceleration from a stop that matters most. Like I said, 0 to 60 kilometers an hour is under 4 seconds, so you can quickly center from a stop and dart through city traffic like a mosquito.
Handling-wise, it's not exactly a hot hatch. Of course, it is front-wheel drive, and the battery is mounted in the floor, so it gives it a low center of gravity. So that means when you toss it through an intersection, it feels stable. But the steering is hilariously light and very artificial feeling.
At least this light steering coupled with its small footprint makes it a breeze to squeeze into parking spots that a Civic might find too tight. However, because of that short wheelbase, the Fiat 500e can be quite bouncy on poorly maintained city streets. The suspension tries its best to soak up the bumps, but cars with short wheelbases have an inherently bouncier ride than those that are longer. When you need to slow down, the 500e has regenerative braking to recoup some energy along with a one-pedal mode. In the normal drive mode, regen braking is similar to that of engine braking. Switch it to range mode and one-pedal driving is enabled.
As for the range, well, it's not a lot. Fiat claims up to 227 kilometers, but that's under ideal conditions, and in a country like Canada, that's about 30 minutes in the middle of August. In the middle of January, when you have the heater set to flamethrower mode, most likely you'll get about 180 kilometers on full charge.
So this is strictly a city car. It's not meant for long trips between your downtown loft and your lake house. However, if you are a bit of a knucklehead and continue to drive the 500e until the battery is nearly depleted, then you can engage something called Sherpa mode. This limits the speed to just 80 kilometers an hour, it dulls the throttle, and it turns off the heating and cooling to maximize range. It's essentially the car saying, "We're gonna die if you don't stop being so comfortable."
At that point, you'll need to pull up to a charger. If you can find a DC fast charger, then nearly flat to 80% will take about 35 minutes at a speed of up to 85 kilowatts. If you can only find a level 2 charger, then 0% to 100% will take about 6 hours at 11 kilowatts.
Inside, it's actually quite nice. It doesn't feel like a cheap car. It feels like a boutique car. Front and center is a 10.25 inch touchscreen that runs Uconnect 5. It's a fast responding system that supports wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. It has a small degree of customizability, but that just means being able to move the different widgets around the home screen. As for functionality, Fiat has not followed the trend of stuffing everything into a touchscreen. There are physical switches for the climate, physical buttons on the steering wheel, and you even get a turn signal stalk, not some buttons like in the Tesla Model 3. It's also a lovely interior to look at. The dashboard is a single sweeping piece of trim that is normally painted in a pearl finish. This Giorgio Armani edition adds some texture to it. It's a direct nod to the original 1957 car, but instead of a metal plate that would take your head off in a crash, it's good quality plastic. There are also a few Easter eggs like the cityscape of Turin on the wireless phone charging pad. In the standard version, the seat stitching spells out Fiat. In this special edition version, it's just some random design, it's not so special. But there are Made in Torino badges that are tucked inside the door handles.
But there are problems. Up here in the front seats, for my above average height of 6'4", I can just fit. However, every time that I need to look towards the right, I'm actually looking out the back because the rear view mirror is directly in my line of sight. So every time I have to make a right turn, I have to duck a little bit to see out the right side. As for the back seats, they're not meant for humans. They're meant for your bags or perhaps a small dog. And in the trunk, well, you can fit a couple of grocery bags and perhaps a sense of optimism, but that's about it. 185 liters of space is not much.
On the outside, the Fiat 500e is an adorable car. It's like a puppy that's trying to growl at you for taking away its favorite toy. It looks a bit aggressive, but in a cute and adorable way. There are also nice little design touches like the little wings on the fenders and Made in Torino written on the brake lights. So in the end, what is this stylish EV going to cost you? Well, it starts at $42,290 Canadian. The La Prima package is another $3,000 Canadian, and this Giorgio Armani edition is another $6,595 Canadian over the base 500e. But this car is eligible for government rebates, which will knock a fair chunk of money off the sticker price. Plus, at the time of filming this video in May of 2026, Fiat is taking another 10,000 Canadian dollars off the sticker price of these 2025 models. So why am I reviewing a 2025 model well into 2026? Well, because the 2026 model year 500es have not yet arrived at dealerships, and there isn't any difference between them apart from the naming of the different trim levels.
For that original price, you can get yourself a compact crossover with enough money for fuel for an entire year. But if you have a family, then a car like this makes absolutely no sense. However, if you are a single city dweller and you want a car that makes you smile every time you look back at it, then this thing is great. Sure, it doesn't have a whole lot of range, and if you don't qualify for government rebates or there are no incentives on it, then it is expensive for what it is. But in a world full of gray, boring, electric eggs, this one is different and charming. And perhaps that might be enough. In the meantime, if you would like to know more about this Fiat 500e, I have a more detailed written review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car, truck, or most likely it'll be an SUV next time. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.